Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to Lakers Detailed Postgame. The Lakers beat on the Utah Jazz in Luka Doncic's debut by a score of, I should know this because I was watching the game, but I switched to the stream, so I totally forgot what the score was. They whoop on the Jazz by a score of 132 to 113, but the game was not even as close as that, even with us winning by 19. Lakers were up by 25, by 30 for most of this game. And the Jazz aren't a good team, so there isn't really much to learn. The Lakers continue their win streak of 6 games in a row, which is a great thing to see. But really, the talk of today was just um, getting to see what Luka Doncic looks like, along with the rest of the Lakers, just kind of how they'd fit him in and how they get things working. And I think Laker fans are pretty happy, including myself, pretty happy about what we've seen just sort of initially so far. Luca was on like a minutes restriction, so I think he was left at about 20 to 24 minutes. He wasn't really that many minutes in the game, which sort of makes sense because they're sort of ramping him back up after about 2 months, I think, or at least a month of him being off. So I think it's really good that he didn't look like too slow, which I think is probably something that everybody would have been concerned about. He looked pretty fresh, looked like he was sort of getting his bearings, getting into the groove of just playing basketball with some pace again. And he definitely delivered on a lot of the stuff that we sort of expected out of Luka, which was, he had a no look pass to a no look corner pass to Rui, which I think he ended up missing, but he had a couple of really nice lob passes to Jackson Hayes. He had some really great passes out of the post. He had some pull up threes. He did that thing where he attacks the rim and decelerates and gets guys to follow him. So it was really nice to see him get into rhythm in that regards. And so it's going to be very exciting to see how the Lakers integrate Luka into everything that they do. And today there was actually a moment where the Lakers gave Austin his own lineup, and like Luka and Braun both went to the bench. I think Luka went to the bench at about like the 4 minute mark, and then Braun went to the bench like at the 6 or 7 minute mark of the first quarter. And I think that's probably because Luka's conditioning is quite not there yet. But honestly, like when that conditioning is back, when he's like back to being like a 30 to 35 minute player and his conditioning allows him to do that, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lakers sort of handle that, because this is going to be a problem, like a good problem, not a bad problem. Like it's going to be a problem in the sense that like the Lakers are going to be constantly staggering like one of LeBron and Luka on the floor, and I think that's going to be kind of crazy because I don't know how you deal with that. And then on top of that, you have the situation of like Austin Reeves playing this off guard ball role. Like he had a small stretch where he got to play with, have his own unit, which he did well. But it's just like, dude, they're at one point in the game, they were picking on Walker Kessler. Like there was a lineup where I think it was like LeBron and Austin. And I think Luka was off the floor, and they were just like constantly picking. Like every team was trying to take turns on finding out where Walker Kessler was. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lakers stagger the minutes and how they match how they match the minutes. They also they subbed Jackson out super early. I think at the 4 minute mark they subbed out Jackson, and they went with like that with like Rui at the center, and I thought that was sort of interesting because the Jazz usually play with like a bigger unit. Lauri Markkanen's on the floor, Walker Kessler's on the floor. So the Lakers didn't adjust based on what the Jazz were doing. They adjusted based on what they wanted to do. And I think that's something that the Laker fans should certainly keep their eye on, because um, if the Lakers are able to dictate the pace of the game, and then they could dictate when they want to shift the pace of the game, meaning they'll play smaller so they can play faster, or they'll play bigger so then they can just be overly physical. I think that's sort of something that people just don't realize, and I think that's going to be something that's really interesting. Folks that are coming in, you can always send a chat through YouTube if you're watching me on YouTube, or you can send it through X, and I'll get up here. Ryu, the ball movement is beautiful. We aren't even full power yet. The playmaking is crazy. What if the entire starting lineup averages 20 points? I don't know. That would be pretty nuts if something like that happened. But I don't think Jackson Hayes is averaging 20 points a night, but I think there is. I know there's people who are a little probably irritated by like Rui still starting, but I do think that there is some value in having a guy his size, to be sort of a heavy guy to play next to Jackson in case Jackson gets pulled to the perimeter and whatnot. And to be fair, I think the Lakers as a team since Anthony Davis got hurt have been really, really good at team rebounding, and I think that's something that might continue. So it'll be very interesting to see if they continue that sort of process. Vando had like an off game, but I didn't think much of it. He was going up against Walker Kessler, who's like a true 7-footer, so he's not really going to get the jump on him necessarily. Lawrence, we're witnessing from YouTube. Lawrence, we're witnessing greatness. Vinay, I know it's just a Jazz, but it seems like all the role players play with a different confidence since the 80 trade. I'm with you, dude. I absolutely agree. I think knowing that you have an offensive floor in Luka and LeBron was phenomenal today. So I don't want the Braun folks to think that I don't care about that. Braun was super phenomenal today. I thought he was super comfortable. He got into his mid-range bag. He hit like a left dribble to this left baseline post fade over Walker Kessler. Like he looked great today. He probably had some careless turnovers, but I think that's just when he feels like getting loose. I don't think that's anything more than that. But I thought Braun was fantastic today. On top of Austin looking great today, on top of Luka looking like he's gradually ramping up into it. But that point about the role players, I think everything gets easier. Like you have two guys that are incredibly high level creators, like incredibly high level, and the best creators in the history of the NBA have the ability to, because of how they find their teammates, almost indirect, like they kind of just their presence allows their teammates to be more active. So they'll cut more, they'll screen harder, they'll run faster, that sort of thing. So when certain players are on the floor, like it sometimes encourages role players to be more active on offense, even beyond the capacity that they normally would be. And it gives them a level of confidence. And then what it allows them to do is, because they don't have to work as hard for their offensive abilities, they can focus on defense. And so I think that's why you see guys like Gabe look really good today. I think that's why you see guys like Rui look really good today. Gabe's a great defender, but Rui's not the greatest defender. But if he's hurting the other team by scoring and getting extra rebounds, that sort of thing, it can make a huge difference. Same thing with Jackson Hayes. Like it just makes his life so much easier. Continuing through, what do we have here? Bam Bell. If they stagger Luka, Braun, Reeves, I'd like to see more Reeves and Gabe. It's only been a few games. I think at some point there might be one lineup that has Reeves and Gabe together, but I think at some point they might break that up to try and give Braun and Luka like an off-ball dribbling partner, like a second ball handler for them to cook. But it's always based on intention. What is it that they want to do? Do they want to do ISO Braun or ISO Luka, or how do they want to play? But it'll be interesting to see. It's a good problem for JJ to have. JJ should be in Coach of the Year talks. They're going to hate on us, though. Oh, I don't think we're going to win any awards. I would be very shocked if the Lakers won awards because people are very upset that the Lakers got Luka. But if we do, that'd be awesome. Luka was rusty, but not bad. Hit that fade in honor of Kobe for sure. Wayne, Rui would be 20-9 on the Wizards. Probably. He'd probably get a lot of shots. By DO3, worried about losing Gabe plus Rui this summer for a center, considering their production currently? Not right now, honestly. Like I'm not really worried. I'm not really looking into the future just yet, because I think this team has a chance to do something special in the playoffs this year. So now that the trade deadline's over and we're just kind of in buyout season, I don't think too far ahead now. That's just me personally, the way I think about it. Now, for now, it's just like, can we become the team that we think we can be in order to make a run? But we can certainly revisit that conversation, I think, in the offseason. I wouldn't stress it right now, honestly. That starting unit is a beast. Yeah, it's a big unit. Now it's a really big unit now. Give Goodwin a contract. He's making a case, Adam. He's really making a case for himself to do something. Jordan realizing AD can't carry them on D anymore, woke them up. These rotations are pretty good. Shows they're connected. Yeah, I agree. I feel like collectively the team defense has improved in a way where, like, they just realized there's no safety blanket anymore. Like, and now you've got to really defend and rebound too. Ramel, what do you think will be the closing lineup, Vando, DFS with the big three. I think it's going to be the big three, and then whichever two guys make the most sense situationally for whatever the defense has to be. It was also nice to see Luka play some defense tonight too. I know he could have certainly like taken off, but I thought it was really, really good that he played defense. I think one of the things I mentioned in the video that I did on integrating Luka was basically that I think people are discounting the IQ of our big three. Like when you think about big threes, you think about like Kevin Durant, Kyrie, James Harden. There was only one true creator in that threesome, right? And that was James. But this group of three, all three guys are great offensive players, and they all are creators. So this is a very different type of big three. I mean, we're saying big three. It's really big two because Austin's wouldn't be considered like a superstar. But our three best players are also three great creators. They're all guys who can average 10 assists a night. So I think it's definitely different. I think any one of those guys, if they get handed the keys, can certainly do it. And I think that's something that makes the trio different than what you've typically seen with some of the other groups that you have going on. Let's see here. Kestrel, now that Alex Len isn't signing with the Pacers, are you keen with the Lakers picking him up? I think Lakers can wait. I don't think they have to. Unless like he's like specifically waiting for Lakers. I don't think they have to. He's a floor spacer. I don't think he's really a rim running big. He's a little light in the weight, so I don't know if he's really the heavyweight that we need. But he is, if Maxi Kleber can't come back, he's certainly an option that the Lakers can consider. Waving Christian Wood to go get. Paul tweets, my guy, clipped and sending it to the boss. Yeah, I don't think it's the truth. I'd say it to him too, but it is what it is. Jordan, do you think the defense can be sustainable and be their identity? I don't know if defense will be their identity, but I do think activity, rebounding, just constant wave of offense over and over again. I think that's the offense is going to help make that defense a little bit easier for them. Len's not starting center material yet. How do you think Luka moved to? I think he moved like a guy who hasn't played basketball in a while. Like you could tell that he was sort of getting his bearings. It seemed like the speed, that whole like dictating the pace of the game and dictating how the matchups were going to go whenever he had his one-on-ones. I think that was a little like, it was like, oh, he's still kind of getting into the spring of things. I think when he gets to full speed and back to like closer to like 80% or 90% Luka, I think like the barrage of offense and like the tidal wave of offense that you're going to get from him and like how it's going to help the rest of the team is going to be crazy. Like, and I think it's going to make a big difference. I think it's going to allow Braun to have fresher legs. I think it's going to allow Austin to have fresher legs. I think everybody's going to kind of feast off of what they can get from him. So when he gets to that point, I think he'll be all right. Why would you waive Woods? Reddish should be the first to get waived. I'm going to be honest, Dan. I think both of those guys might get waived. I don't think Christian Wood's going to make it back in time to play, at least from what I heard. I could be wrong. And I'm not quite sure Reddish is going to be available for the rest of the season. So if they do have to add one or two guys, one of those two guys is getting waived. If they have to add two guys, then I think both those guys are getting waived. So I'll be very interested in seeing what happens. And we are almost at 15 minutes. So let me get to this last question from Shell. Do you think Hayes is holding up well among other team bigs, both defensively, offensively? Offensively, he's just got to run hard, catch lobs, and dunk it. So I think that he's doing that really well. Defensively, it's just a matter of staying out of foul trouble. Like, can he stay out of foul trouble enough to be effective for us offensively? Because if he leaves the floor, then it gets really tricky. JJ is basically saying that we're going to go to small ball units if that's the case. So I'll be interested to see just sort of what direction they try to go with to supplement him in case he runs into that issue. Because we've been fortunate; he hasn't gotten in any foul trouble or anything like that in games. So I'll be very curious to see how it works out for them. But yeah, folks, I'm going to keep it at 15 minutes. I try to keep these post games light and then hyper focus on the things that we have to hyper focus on because we have to move on, go on with our lives and not spend too much time doing it. So as always, I appreciate all the folks that joined. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the format of the post game. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more intensive, but for the most part, I think 15 minutes is just about the right amount of time to cover, the core things that happen in the game. And as always, if you guys enjoy the post games or enjoy the videos, head over to Lakers Details YouTube. You guys can subscribe there. I'm going to have some cool stuff after the All-Star break that's going to happen for folks who are subscribers to the channel, which I think people are going to really enjoy. The Lakers' next game is on Wednesday against the Charlotte Hornets. And we've got some beef with the Hornets right now, which might end up being some sort of, I don't know what's going to happen with the Mark Williams thing and the stuff they're complaining about, but it should be funny to see how this ends up resolving itself. But as always, I appreciate you. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And if nothing else, I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.